Um, can you see my screen, Andile?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Okay, no problem. All right. So this is how we'll be going, getting to know you, how you grew up, your early influences, your craft, building well, student lessons that you can share, and an interactive part of the session where our students can get to ask you questions, basically. Okay, but to break the ice a bit, okay, what are your everyday preferences? Is it tea, coffee? Are you an early bird or a night owl? Do you have a small ritual or a routine that starts off your day?
Thank you so much for that. Just one request, if you can bear with me.
Mm.
I'm actually in one of a recently opened a shop. So now the person that was supposed to be in today is not in. So I might be disturbed once in a while from customers who want to buy. So please bear with me as I just juggle everything at once.
No problem. We understand the business life.
Yeah. So
Yes.
thank you so much for the invite and
Mm.
greetings to everyone. As mentioned, the name is Andile Sasanti, founder and chief vision officer at Well and Well. We are a plant-based producing business. But just to answer your question, um, I I really think I don't have a sort of routine.
Mm.
I think I I take I take things as I go. For example, I would just have a strange coffee week, and then all of a sudden, I don't have any taste bites for coffee. So the next week, so yeah, it's quite weird. I don't know how to explain it,
Mm.
but what I would say is that I am a person who wakes up early.
Mm.
I'm a person who's sort of intentional in terms of how to plan for the day, how to plan for the week. And
Mm.
so I would say that mainly everything happens in my mind versus just in the physical. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'm I'm making sense.
No, I totally understand. I get it. No problem. And how would your friends or your people describe you, and what trait do you think you have that shows up the most when things get rough?
I think I'm a very reserved person.
Mm.
I listen a lot. I observe actually. I'm an observer. And maybe a lot of people what they don't know about me, which is something that I'm actually struggling with and I'm trying to fight. I'm a perfectionist.
Mm.
And it has its own advantages and disadvantages, but it has a lot of disadvantages. I'm more of a person who who thinks deeply. I enjoy my own space. Not that I don't enjoy a company of people, but I tend to be myself more because I think I've learned to find myself and most of the things just become irrelevant because I value myself so much that I respect my time, I respect my space. I don't want my space to be surrounded by people that are not aligned to how I view, think, and behave,
Mm.
and yeah. So I think I'm that person, and it's not me saying that. It's how even people see me and they will share that. Sometimes it's not good because it intimidates people, and I don't want things to get to that because after all, I enjoy interactions. I go through things where sometimes it's fair to share the little that you know. But
Mm.
when you find that now there's a disconnect because people think you are sort of like in your own lane, and it makes it harder for them to reach out. Yeah, those are some of the things that the behavior that I have comes with such consequences. Is that yeah, there's just sometimes a disconnect in how people approach you or reach out to you. It's like they need to act a certain way and kill their authenticity in order for them to engage you or be in the same space with you. But yeah, in a nutshell, yeah, I'm a reserved person, and
Mm.
but most importantly, I'm authentic.
Mm-hmm.
I don't fake. I don't live people's life. Each and everything, even when I build a brand, it's based on authenticity. And sometimes I actually even know how to explain each and everything that I implement, because it comes from a place of purpose, versus
Mm.
I saw it somewhere and then I can't explain it, because the person who really knows about what maybe I've implemented is someone from where I saw it from. So I'm really authentic, and I think that's why I'm not in. There are celebrity entrepreneurs and then there are entrepreneurs. So I think
Yeah.
I'm in the space where I'm in the sort of like real space, because real people don't like, they don't have the loudest voices, but the work just speaks. So yeah.
Mm. Okay, great. I see how the conversation will circle back to that. That's very interesting. So, the fire round, I'll just park it here for now because this is going to open up a lot of questions that I have or that others may have as well. But may you please share a bit about you growing up? What influenced you to get to the path that you are at now as an entrepreneur, where you grew up, what you were like as a kid? Were you an ambitious kid? Did you know that you were going to be in business as well?
Sure. Thank you so much for that.
Mm,
I actually grew up. So I was born in Soweto, bred in
mhm,
Katlehong, the East Rand, and I'm a person who was exposed to a lot of sort of migration in terms of moving from one place to another. So I was not the a kid where I grew up in one place up until I finished matric. No, I moved. I think if I can make a count, 5 different areas or regions in my whole life. Actually, before matric, the fifth place that I was staying at was when I completed my matric. So you can imagine the exposure that you're exposed to. You need to always adapt. You need to constantly change friends, language at the same time. So that's my journey in terms of upbringing. Um,
mm,
and fast forward that, there's a argument that entrepreneurs are made or they born. I never thought that I'm an entrepreneur.
mm,
I've never even thought that I'm gonna actually pursue a career or journey in entrepreneurship, because um, everyone in school aspires to be a professional, right?
mhm,
And even the subjects that you choose when you're choosing streams, they channel you into a profession of being either an accountant, a scientist, a historian, a lawyer, and all that. So getting outside that sort of system, it's something that needs to. There's sort of like there's something that drives you to step out of the normal system, right? Which is
exactly.
what drove me. So what drove me was my circumstances post matric, where financially things were difficult. I was staying with a pensioner who took care of me and my cousin sister. She loved us dearly, but unfortunately she passed in 2017. My mom,
Mm,
and when you survive with her grant, it creates a lot of, it tests a lot of things. For example, more especially in the township, sometimes people think that you're not making an effort, but you just find that things are just not coming all right. Whatever you try and do, whatever you just think, like everything is just at a stop. Nothing was moving.
mm,
Nothing. Yeah. so you'd have first people, neighbors, the community members, like, this one is lazy, so is taking advantage of the parents' grant. They don't want to do anything, but but then I actually started a musical journey with my friends where we were into DJing, and music production. Then we would just find gigs. But then the issue of also to that was that we were doing things as a collective, but the mission and purpose was not aligned. So we'd find that what made us separate, because we were creating sort of like a business in this thing, but now one friend decided to buy a golf with the money that we've actually been accumulating from these gigs. So it caused fights and divisions. So I decided to leave the guys. But also, apart from leaving the guys, it also created a very high intake of alcohol, because we were almost drinking every weekend, and excessively at that. Sometimes we'd go to gigs, they pay us with alcohol instead of remunerating you for
Mm.
your craft. So these are some of the things that you find when you wake up. You don't even have money for bread, but you had a nice time yesterday. And when you do an assessment to say, look, man, because look, time moves, and it moves quickly when you are idling. So it's like, no, man, I've wasted 3 to 4 years doing the same thing, and I can't
Mm.
actually have anything to reference or to say that this is what I've accumulated. So that's when I decided then to start a cleaning business. Actually, then I was inspired by, there was a new company that started a cleaning business. It was called Sweep South. It still exists today. So actually, it's a big cleaning
I think I've heard
e-commerce
of
platform.
it.
Yes.
Mm.
So with Sweep South, what happened is that they started a cleaning company. They used a totally different business model into the cleaning landscape. So what they did is that they allowed for a person to clean, and then they charged the cleaning services per hour, because normally then cleaning businesses, we're charging like 500 to clean your house, or maybe per room, but they
Mm.
charged per hour. And what got my attention was that they charged 50 rand per hour, and
Mm.
they didn't have sort of like cleaners, so they had a database of different cleaners in different regions. For example, if they say they're going to Sentin, then I mean, if a person in Sentin requests their cleaning services, then they'll find someone in Sentin in their database to go to that particular house, do the cleaning for whatever particular hours they requested, and it's done. So I was quite
Mm.
fascinated by that, right? And knowing myself, at that time, the biggest weakness was desperation. Then I tried to
Mm.
copy their system, right? Instead of trying to be inspired by that system and maybe create something, then I copied the system, everything, like from point A to point Z. Copied that system, started a cleaning business. It was called Fragrance of Nature. It didn't
Mm.
even last 3 months, because we didn't have a purpose. We
Mm.
didn't know what we're doing. We just got into the bandwagon because there's money to be made. Cleaning, who doesn't know how to clean, and all
Mm.
those things. So the business failed. Yeah, I didn't even go to the drawing board, because what would I go and do to the drawing board, because I copied everything, so I
Mm.
don't have ideas, right?
Mm.
Then tried working. So I started working at call centers as a telesales consultant, where I was selling insurance.
Mm.
Started working at Bayport, clientele, and not to bad mouth, but it was the worst experience in my career, because
Mhm.
that's where I experienced that people are not valued, right? But then
Mm.
at the same time, there's also learnings, because I got skills of learning how to sell, learning how
Mm.
to speak to people, understanding when someone wants to run and not buy, and the psychology of trying to bring them back. So if you can do that
Mm.
over the phone, imagine how brilliant you are when you are now engaging in person with the person, or selling something in person, right? So I got that, but I ended up resigning from my job, not because I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship, because I was damaged. I was dying inside, because I
Mm.
remember. I got into the office so we started work at 8, so I got in I think 5 minutes late. My supervisor was on my throat, and then I just took everything in the cupboard, gave to the lady next to me, and I just left. And I forfeited monies that were due to me just because I just chose myself and peace, because that job was, I was dying every time I went there. And then I was then when it's knock off time, then life starts to bloom. So I decided, no man, this is not it for me. So I left without having a plan to say what I'm going to do. I just didn't know what to do, so I just left. um and yeah, then in 2017, my mom suffered a severe hypertension, where
Mm.
now she visited the clinic a lot. I think there was also cardiovascular at that time, which is a heart disease. So now it's me taking care of her, serving her with vegetable smoothies, at least to try and improve her immune system. And now we were the two of us, because my cousin sister had found a job and she decided to leave us, which was not a problem. But then what happened is that I decided, because I used to visit the library actually a lot, because I'm also a person who likes to read. So I would also do research on ways to improve her immune system. So I used the library's internet. Then I accidentally came across an online webinar that was hosted
Mm.
by Jomo Kenyatta University of Agriculture and Technology in Kenya. So the lead researchers there, they used to do webinars on fermented products. So they did yogurt, kombucha, kimchi, mala. So mala, it's sort of like their famous maheu,
Mm.
and other various fermented products. So I found interest because they emphasized how probiotics play a role, and these probiotics and bacteria, and these were new terms for me, and I was like, what? Then I decided to really trial and error, because with yogurt, I found that yogurt was more common. It was more relatable for me, because in South Africa yogurt is common both in the affluent and in the lower, like townships and rural
Mm.
areas. So I decided to explore with yogurts, and after trial and error, I managed to get it right. But after a long, because when you do yogurt, it's a very sensitive product to do, more especially when you're doing it small scale, domestic equipment. You don't have thermometers, because it's a temperature sensitive production process.
Yes, yeah.
So you'd find that sometimes, instead of using a thermometer to find the temperature, I was using my thumb to say that if the
Mm.
milk is not too hot, then if my thumb can fit in there well without it being burnt, then it's the right temperature. So those are the informal things. So that's when I started. Then I decided to incorporate the vegetables as part of flavoring, because I used to serve her with vegetable smoothies. So I decided to flavor the new yogurt discovery with vegetables, just to improve its nutrient value. Then I then served her, but months later she suffered a short illness, and she passed on, which was
Mm.
2017 in December. And then and yeah, it was the most difficult season of my life. I think in January, after her burial, I came back, because we laid her to rest in the Eastern Cape. Then I came back in January. I didn't have anything, so I didn't have a job, I didn't have money, I didn't have friends, because most friends like you, when you can actually provide something. So I was actually alone, and the family
Mm.
members that were there to say that, we'll be with you after the burial, no one, which was okay. Then I decided to start this yogurt new discovery that I used to do, and start selling it as means of survival. Right, started
Mm.
selling it in the township, taxi ranks, door to door, cooler boxes, and started trying to package it. I think my first packaging was in poly oak in Eratin, where I just bought small bottles for, I think, 200 rand. Then went back, packaged, and then sold it without even the stickers. And the feedback was overwhelming because most of my target market that time were actually pensioners, right? Because these are people that were suffering high blood pressures, diabetes, all these things. So they found the product interesting, and they will support. So then the journey started there. But
Mm.
yeah, I'm just moving. Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm terribly sorry for your loss. I fully understand how difficult that must have been. And when you were speaking about Sweep South, I'm realizing that that's the common mistake that entrepreneurs make, actually. Somebody is unmuted. Okay, hold on. I'm just gonna try and mute them. Okay. Um, can you still hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. So with Sweep South at the business model, I realized that that's the mistake that most of us make when we start a business. We are inspired, we see a business, we are inspired by how it works, by how much money they are making, by their branding and all those things. And we think to ourselves that, okay, all I need to do is to copy each and everything that they do. And then that means obviously even my business is gonna go well or even better than them, but forgetting that there's things such as values, mission, their why they started the business. And your why is very, very important as well when you are doing business. So that's something that I've come to learn or pick up on. But it's a very interesting story that you've shared of how you got to get here and what you were saying about being looked down upon because you went against the grain as well. Typically, we know that when a person finishes matric, all that they need to do is to go to university. But what if that's not how your life is being set out to be? And I think this is now outside of the scope of what I wrote down here, but the courage to be like, okay, you know what, I'm going against the grain. What did that feel like for you?
Yeah, I think that for me, it's something that, to be quite honest, I did not realize it whilst
Mm,
I was doing that, to say that I'm going against, right?
mm,
It's something that I felt that, look, that hence I'm saying that what drove me were my circumstances, and then I really, my strengths were more unearthed then, right? To say, man, look, um, actually, I'm more creative and excited when I'm actually thinking about things. Okay, let me just maybe first start phrase it like this, right? So the current brand that we are well and well,
mm,
we do not see products as being complete, right? So our purpose is to reimagine products, so we don't invent anything new. So for example, with yogurt has been around, but we don't actually saying that, look, yogurt, no, it's just us finding new ways of doing yogurt. If let's say we plan to do let's say cooking oil, um, arguments are that maybe seed oils are healthy or not, but for now let's park that aside. We are thinking about how can we reimagine a cooking oil. That's our purpose, to say that, okay, reimagining means doing something that has not been done. So people think that maybe if it's sunflower oil, canola oil, beef tallow, it's complete, but we're saying that it's not. That's why I would say, maybe how about we blend canola and sunflower and create one thing, and what would be the nutritional profile in that? That's what Well and Well stands for, right?
mm,
So that ability to imagine to that level, uh, 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 I think that's what drove me to really want to step outside, because in a formal space you are instructed to do things a certain way, so you are not
mm,
allowed to actually be be even if, let's say, I get a divine revelation, I can't express it because there's
Mm-hmm.
a system and process that this is how we do things here, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why even at Well and Well, because I'm an entrepreneur, I understand flexibility. Our system and processes says that you can't be here with us if you are not creative, if you can't imagine outside the scope of our systems and processes, right? So we're allowing you and giving you the freedom to think things that are weird, things that people don't take serious. So that's what we stand for. So I think that element of trying to be excited about doing things that people don't see as fun or normal, that accelerated my wanting to be outside the norm of the of what we actually used to.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if I'm answering you.
Yes, I fully understand. And before I say anything else, does anybody have a question or a comment? The floor is open. You can type it in the chat if you do not feel too, if you do not feel like opening up your mic. I will just read. Okay, I see somebody's typing. Okay, I'm just gonna give them a few, like, minutes to finish off typing. I'm hoping they're actually typing. Okay, anybody else that has a question? Okay, but in the meantime, I'll just comment on what you said. I was having a conversation with a friend a few days ago about how I'm realizing that, or with what I've been listening to or watching, in terms of entrepreneurship, they're actually making me realize that sometimes what needs to be done is for you to do what they call, quote unquote, the boring businesses, right? By that, we're basically saying a business idea doesn't have to be something new, out of the box, mind blowing. And you're confirming that by saying it's just a matter of reinventing the wheel. What is going to be different about the product that you are coming up, the product that you are working on? And I see that with what you're saying is that creativity is also quite important in the business field as well. Okay, they're done. Okay, thank you for this opportunity. These are great insights on entrepreneurship. What was the point or moment you realized that entrepreneurship is for you? Okay. Okay, that was the question. I'm not sure if you heard it.
Yes, I heard it. I heard it.
Mm, yes.
I think the point where I realized that entrepreneurship is for me was when I realized how resilient I was, right? Um,
Mm,
Firstly, I didn't know the even the term entrepreneurship when I actually started this journey, right? It was just me creating this product, selling in order for it to service a need at the same time. Take care of my needs, right? And for me that was that, right? And the process for me it was business because business has been the buzzword, right? So over the years, when I now started formalizing, going through these programs, then I realized that actually, even when I was not even making money, I was actually resilient because I had that thing that somehow it'll be all right. Let me just improve on this. Taking feedback instead of just giving up and going back to the call center. Another thing is, I was like, I'm not in a position where I can even dust up my CV because I was working at a call center. It's not a fancy job, right?
mm,
Instead, it's just something that it's sort of like a foundation phase to take you somewhere. So I can't go back there. So I just had to try and make this thing work. right? So I think that's when I realized that after attending these programs, formalizing and understanding the educational part of entrepreneurship, that's when I realized that, because all these things that I was doing, for me, they didn't have terms that time. But when I started getting into the formal education of this thing, then I started realizing that actually when I started persevering and becoming resilient, because I had now characteristics of really this thing called entrepreneurship. But at that time, I did not realize that it was entrepreneurship or it was for me. But
Mm,
when I started doing these programs, then I realized that actually now I'm being intentional about what I'm doing, because now I know these terms. I know what's the name of this feeling. I know what's the name of this and that and that. So I wouldn't say that it's when this thing happened. I think because when that thing that happened, I didn't know the term entrepreneurship, but I would say that the resilience, that that and also I must mention this. Um, I don't want to talk about my journey as if there were difficult times and then all of a sudden everything rose. No, it was yeah. I'm just gonna maybe share as we go, but from the point when I started formalizing, then that's where I realized that I was actually resilient, and for me that was the point.
mm,
Maybe if I would specify the year, it was around 19, yeah, 20, late 2019, 2020.
mm. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you feel answered. I'm not too sure their name, but Nkuta. I hope you feel answered by that. But thank you so much for that insight. And I think more often than not, these qualities such as resilience, being able to work under pressure, they often have, like, should I say, a negative connotation of that means you having a very difficult life. You can't build a beautiful life outside of having those qualities about yourself, and but in this scenario, you being resilient has helped to build a business that is serving its mission, serving its purpose. But yeah, but on this part of the road before, well and well, when you shared about DJing, telesales, and the cleaning services, I feel like you may have answered this part already and how each role helped and what qualities each role brought in. Unless if there's something you'd like to say on this part before we move forward.
Um, yeah, I'll just maybe say that this part,
Mm,
they created, so at this so this part, they created a semi well and well.
mm,
Yeah, so the full well and well was not realized, right? Because I was still trying to juggle different things, but the intention and purpose was not clear. So yeah.
mm. Okay. Yeah, because all the roads have led to where you are now. So I can see that. Okay. Um, More often than not, when we get into entrepreneurship, or personally, when I learned about entrepreneurship, I never thought this could be something that a person can go get formal learning on. I just thought it's a matter of start the business, you'll make money, and that's it. But lately I've been on a journey of, okay, maybe I do need to learn about stuff about formalization, compliance, stuff about registering a business, why you need to register a business or anything like that, those type of things. And I see you had I did some research. For some research, I found that you had Twane Business and Society on your LinkedIn as well, Startup School. How did those help? And do you think it's important for business people, student entrepreneurs in general, to at least have a little bit of formal learning, or it's not that important? What's your take on this part?
Thank you so much, Charity. I think this is one part where we take light. I strongly agree that formal education is crucial, important.
Mm.
um, I come across entrepreneurs that make arguments like, yeah, but Steve Jobs dropped out of school. Bill Gates dropped out of school. But I also make the argument, but say, yeah, they dropped out of Harvard, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So that tells you the level of intellect that they had, and the institutions that they were at. So I think that's really important, because look, business and entrepreneurship is evolving, right?
Mm.
um, there are certain things that you go through. Hence, I'm saying that I went through things, but I didn't really understand what are those things. But formal education or training actually expanded and gave me insights to say, look, this is what these things are, right? A basic and simple example that most academias might be familiar with, the acronym VUCA, right?
Pardon?
VUCA,
How do you spell it?
VUCA.
VUCA. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's VUCA. It's a term that's widely used in business school, right?
Mm.
So so VUCA, it's sort of like, so it's a leadership strategic framework, right? That stands for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity,
Mm.
right? So they coin them to say that these are actually the four acronyms that each and every entrepreneur or business should actually stand on, right? To say that, look, the nature and speed of unpredictable things, it's at its highest, right? You need to adapt, right? Some businesses die because they don't adapt, right? There's a lot of uncertainty um, that also comes with that, right? So we can't predict the future, right? And when you can't predict the future, you need to at least plan and understand. Just 1 second, let me just, as I've mentioned, that I'll be interrupting a bit.
Okay, no
So,
problem.
thank you so much. All right, sorry about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So yeah, it's there to say that you there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of complexity, and we must also understand. These are things that you get on, or when you do formal or formal training, right? Understanding things like business model. I see now there's a lot of business model canvas that's going on to say that it's sort of like a framework of how things are done, to say what's your value proposition, what's your key partners, revenue streams, cost of doing this. That's formal learning, right? It's
Mm.
and sometimes you must also be honest to say that um, with the current spaza shop challenge that we find ourselves in, I would also say that formal learning would have contributed to keeping the spaza shop industry alive. For example,
Mm.
um, each and every most spaza shops in the townships and rural areas, they were killed mainly by almost one thing: customer service, right?
Mm.
When you go there, if you maybe purchase something with 100 rand note, um, they will just say something negative, because where will I get change in the morning, right? Things like that, and you don't speak to a customer that way. So had maybe a formal learning applied into maybe such, then maybe would be in a different position. And not to say that we're in this position because of that. I'm just highlighting the
Mm.
how formal learning or training could actually advance some of the things that we actually do. Yeah, but for me, formal learning, it's really important.
Mm. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, the sponsor shop example, that's a very real one because you end up no longer going because you know that lady from that shop, she's just rude,
I understand.
and they have really good stuff, but it's just the customer service, like you are saying. And sometimes it's just a matter of being able to, should I say, vocalize the things that you're experiencing in business. Sometimes you're having a business challenge, but just because you don't have the right terminology for it, you end up not being able to even solve that business problem or that business challenge as well. So, yes. Um, um, is there anything you'd like to say about the part that says learning by doing and staying curious? I think on the part of staying curious, you shared about being creative as well, especially if a person wants to be part of well, it should be a person that is creative, thinks outside the box. But now, if we're looking at it from this perspective of learning and the building part of things, can you share a bit about that? Because it's all nice and well to have the business plan as well. We think, oh, now the business plan is there, I've printed it out. That's it.
Yeah, no, that's true. And you know, um, if maybe I could just cover these 2 points. So learning by doing. For me, I'll speak about me, right? Learning
Mm,
by doing. It's more of I don't wait for the perfect time, right? Because for me, perfect time finds me along the way, right?
mhm,
Learning by doing simply means that, um, for example, uh, so we transitioned our yogurt from dairy to plant based, right? In
mm,
order for you to transition from a dairy to plant based, there are a lot of activities that needs to be involved. Find things like having food technologists that would assist in product development, R&D, stability, microbiological analysis, nutritional
mm,
analysis, all these technicalities. But now we didn't wait for that because those are expensive exercises, right? But what we did is how can we do it ourselves formally and informally, right? You'd find that when you test for a shelf life of a product, it takes you it's you spend around 19,000 for testing the shelf life to say how long does this product take for it to reach its end or best before date. But with us, because we didn't have the resources then to test for shelf life, what we did, you take a sample, you put it in the fridge, you put one sample outside the fridge, and then you have a calendar that you manually write, and then you paste it on the wall. Each and every day, you observe, and then you tick if there's spoilage, you tick what you see, and in both samples, and then you realize that maybe in day 20, day 25, day 30, these are the activities that had happened. I know that's not a scientific sort of like analysis, but it's something that would also allow us to be confident to say at least in day 25 our products is still safe to consume. But because we didn't have the resources, we didn't have to wait for us to have the money to do the actual shelf life testing, right? But now when the resources are there, you can even at least provide evidence and analysis to the labs themselves to say this is what happened, and then you're now making their job easier. So that's the learning by doing, to say that I don't, or we do not wait for things, we execute. So execution is just our core. And then in terms of staying curious, it's just it's staying curious is just me, because I like to ask questions, right? um Even on the value proposition that we have to say that why are we different, we ask so what up until the end, right? Because
mm,
now that so what creates or pushes you into a space that you didn't know exist, right? To say that actually, once my so what is so limited in that I can't ask any more questions, then you've arrived at your point to say, okay, this is what I stand with, right? But
mm,
now that curiousness needs, you need that, right? You need hence like when I made an example earlier to say, let's say we are to develop a cooking oil, then we say, what would happen if we mix canola oil and sunflower oil? That's curiousness. That's being curious because you don't know, and it's something that has not been done before, right? But it's curiousness that would allow for you to have something to launch, something that might be appreciated. To say, look, or maybe beef tallow and mix with. So for us, being curious creates or gives us the ability to reimagine. Being curious gives us the ability to actually stand on our purpose, to say that, what does Well and Well stand for? Well and Well stands for seeing products or adding value in products that already exist, because people already know these products. So we don't really have a job of trying to be something that we know just so that we sound relevant in terms of saying that we are innovative and because I'll tell you something about innovation. South Africa speaks. Actually, innovation is a buzzword now, but people don't understand that. Most people actually don't understand that things like innovation. It's not something fancy, because innovation, real innovation, it takes a minimum of 10 years for it to break through. And South Africa doesn't reward innovation and innovators. They want to brag. They want success stories. So you can't get that on an innovative product or service, right? So yeah. So you know, when you are innovative, you get crucified because you are producing something that is taking out money instead of bringing in money, and you understand the purpose of this. So there's no patience to stand for innovation. So yeah, but being curious and learning up and learning by doing, these are just my values.
Mm. You know, on the innovation part, yeah, it opens up a whole new conversation, and I don't think we'll have enough time for that. But I just want to comment, um, the way you were testing for shelf life. I'm pretty sure that's how they were doing it before the scientific science, before the scientists even came in and research and things like that. So I understand. Okay, so continuing from this, can we move to a different part now? Does anybody have a question? Anybody have a question? Any comments? Okay, I see here. Please also advise on how to sell your business while learning. How do you sell your value proposition to potential clients? Okay, before you answer this question, these are uh, big words or a big phrase. How would you describe a value proposition to a person that is just getting into business? What even is a value proposition?
All right. A value proposition. I'd say that it's something that you explain why should a customer choose your product or services over somebody else. That's it. So yeah, it just communicates what are you really solving.
Okay, and their question was, oh, I don't know, were you answering that or you were just explaining value
A
proposition,
value
right?
proposition. Yeah.
Yes. So their question was, please also advise on how to sell your business while learning. How do you sell your value proposition to potential clients?
Mm. Once you've identified your value proposition, or have identified what really sets you apart or makes you unique, I don't believe in this philosophy of going to sell to clients. I believe in the philosophy of going to understand what clients need first. You need to ask questions, right? You might not ask them questions, but maybe research them and find their pain. I'll make it a typical example. So I had approached. So there's a group of private hospitals here in the township called Clinics Group. It's owned by Dr. S.K. Matsike. So Clinics operates in most townships nationally. So I so at that time I had a product that's sort of, it had a wellness approach. Now I needed to approach them so that maybe it can be a beverage that would be accepted as part of their meal plan, or maybe breakfast snack, or whatever, right? And I could have went to them and said, okay, guys, this is the product, da 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 da. But then what I decided to do, I decided to study them and actually understand what do they need. Because if I had to interview them or ask them questions, I don't know, it's gonna sometimes gonna be difficult to get really what I needed to get. So, for example, I went to research more about them, and what I found out was that medical aids were actually complaining about private hospitals in the township, right? To say that whenever they are hospitalized medical members of maybe Discovery or certain medical scheme, they when they are hospitalized at Netcare, they tend to have a shorter stay. But when they are hospitalized in private hospitals in the township, they have a longer stay, right? And that was their problem, to say they're getting in trouble with most medical aids regarding them spending more money for township private hospitals. And that was to the fact that their members or patients in these private hospitals, they were not living healthy. So whenever they are hospitalized, they are too sick because there are a lot of complications now, right? So now they had to find approaches to how can we try and mitigate. This is what Discovery is doing, to reward people to live healthy so that they avoid being hospitalized or avoid spending more time when they are hospitalized, right? So now I went to them with that approach, but they didn't hear it for whatever reasons. But then the point is that try and find and understand really what's their pain point. Then if you have what would really solve that, then you go and present to them based on the problem that you've really identified. Then it becomes easy. Maybe to be on a lighter one, if let's say you are selling a product, or let's say a service, um, this I see a lot with mostly township. I'm gonna speak a lot about township businesses because I'm much more working with a lot of township businesses. You find that actually, let me make an example with this guy that I was actually conversating with a few days ago. So he's running a digital marketing agency, right? He's also a student at UJ Soweto campus. Now he wants clients, and he was pitching to me to say that can you do digital marketing for the brand, right? And I was like, yeah, look, so what work have you done before? No, I'm actually starting out, but these are my expertise. These are my expertise. Oh, okay, no, that's good. But then I realized that. But now, do you know what we stand for? Do you know the brand? Right? No, but you've never even offered to buy the product so that you can actually see how this brand looks. How does it taste like? What would my expertise? Why would I apply my expertise when I'm actually working on this for this content? Then you now speak to me based on something that inspires me to say that, okay. No, actually, you've got a point when you're saying this, that the conversation flows now. But now, because it's a one-sided relationship, you want money from me, right? But you don't want to learn anything about what we do, what we stand for. Then but I gave him advice to say, look, I think personally, the best thing that you can do now, approach daycares here in the township in Orlando. Approach these daycare centers, right? And ask for them, ask to do content for them, right? Open up a Facebook page for them, open up an Instagram page for them, and then go to that daycare at least twice a week. Take content of kids doing this. If there are updates from that daycare, and do it for free. And then you tell the principal of the daycare that when money starts coming in based on what we are currently doing, or when the engagement is at this level, then I'll start charging. Now you at least have a portfolio, you have a potential client, because already they need that. Some parents would need a daycare center, but they don't know reputable or trustworthy daycares. But if they find them online with content and seeing that, oh, this is how children do this, they go to trips, they do that, then you are resolving the daycare's needs by now bringing them customers, making them more trustworthy, and really bringing strength to their values. Yeah, that's that. I know it's a mouthful, but yeah.
Personally, thank you so much for that. I understand what you are saying about that, and I hope everybody else does get where Mr. Andile is coming from about that. And it leads to something that I read about as well not too long ago, about building strategic relationships or partnerships as well, which is exactly what you're explaining right now. Because the person came to you under the guise of, I mean, obviously we are in business. The end goal is for income, right? But for the fact that they didn't even know what even your product tastes like, what your mission uh is and stuff like that. And if only they had started by saying, okay, I would like to build a relationship with you, and this is where I would like for us to go. Let me provide my service for you first, and then we'll see how it goes. And it also begs the question of, when you're starting out in business, how much of maybe should I say doing something for free, quote unquote, right? But it's not really, it's free in the sense of you're not getting paid, but you are building the relationship so that obviously in the future it's a strategic relationship, even to get as far as being able to get funding and all of that. Would you recommend that? And how much of that should a person do as well, especially at the beginning?
Yeah, I would say that for me it depends, right? It depends on the sector.
Mm-hmm.
It depends also on your expertise, right?
Mm-hmm.
You can't be, for example, in corporate, let's say for 30 years, and then you start consulting, and you have vast experience, and then you decide that you want to do work for free, right? Yeah, it really depends. But for really an emerging brand or person, maybe that comes from a disadvantaged place or space, or maybe they are not resourced, then I would say that we can have that conversation, right? And you can also be intentional about it to say, look, have sort of like a plan around it to say that um, just one or two that's going to be used as a reference or portfolio to say that when we go and bid for work, we bid for work based on these two that we've done work for free, right? So it doesn't need to say that your business now runs entirely on a for free work. No, just to build momentum so that when you go and pitch for work, or when you go and approach either retailers or customers to actually buy whatever you're offering, then at least it comes from a sense of there's something that you can see that you've done work, or you are credible. People are willing to work with you, because I mean, if people are not willing to work with you and you want me to be your first, then we're gonna have a problem, because it's like now you want to become, you want to initiate things with me. You can't test waters with my brand, right? So there's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be that pushback. So at least if there's that, I've done this, but yeah, but it shouldn't really be doing for free, in that you are also taking more from your resources. Just make something
Mm-hmm.
light and basic, that it doesn't consume you, but at the same time, it allows you to actually help, at least I get something as you go.
Okay, I understand. Thank you so much. Okay. I think we've covered pretty much of these parts of the slides. We've spoken about how Well and Well even came about, starting the business and stuff like that. before I forget, because I could tell that I'm about to forget, can you please share about the Woolies Youth Makers, how you heard about it? Um, yeah, how did that happen for you?
Yeah. You know,
And congratulations once again.
thank you so much. Thank you
Mm,
so much. You know, the Woolies thingy, for me, it's a something. It's something that validated that there's something that I'm doing right. It's something that I. It's also the biggest highlight of my career. I mean, because Woolworths is associated with exceptional quality, and for your brand to be associated with their brand, it's just something. So it's an initiative that's run by Woolies, where they're giving brands or emerging brands exposure to their customers, right?
mm,
And they choose brands mostly that are aligned to their values, that are aligned to their mission, and most importantly, brands that are authentic, right? So
mhm,
so I think that's what stood out. And out of all the brands that were actually there, Well and Well was the only township brand there. And
mm,
yeah, we are graduating now from the township because we are moving towards to an industrial area actually next
mm,
week. So but the authenticity was too strong that you can't ignore it, right?
mm,
Um, the social impact that I do, right, was too strong because, for example, I'm not a brand that's really making money, but I'm a brand that, even with the 1 rand that we maybe make, I'm supporting or sponsoring a netball team here in Soweto called Born Free Netball Club, right? So
mm,
so so these are girls that we are supporting, so that there's functionality in the team. Take them off these social ills, and then we are also donating some products to different old age children's homes as part of enhancing their nutrition, right?
mm,
So these are things that you don't buy, right? These are things that you don't do just because you want to be seen. These are things that you do behind the scenes because they are right to do, right?
mm,
And then that's where you start attracting, because once you do things intentionally, purposefully, you start attracting. But if you're chasing these woolies, you're chasing that, and then you have an agenda. It's a one-sided thing. So it's more like we ticked the boxes before we even knew that these guys are coming, right?
mm.
Yeah. So it started there. We went to the Willys headquarters in Cape Town, presented to the board. The board was impressed. The team was there, the marketing, the legal team, and they actually, our logo, it's almost similar to a Woolies logo, right? So they were
I
like,
saw that.
yeah. So and they realized that actually we were not trying to imitate them or what, right? This was sort of like a so well and well. It's an approach that to say that wellness, and then there's sort of like a spark of a drinking yogurt when it's actually spilled or something. So the logo also has its meaning. It speaks because it's a quirky, fun way that represents well and well. So
Mm,
but these are some of the things that they actually liked, right? Yeah, and then so we currently, as we speak now, the product is in Woolies Mall of Africa.
mm.
Last month we in KZN at Woolworths Gateway, and then next month we'll be in Kennel Walk, Cape Town.
Okay, congrats, especially also on the move. I'm not sure if you can see my screen where I'm showing the website.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, these look very delicious. I might go get one very soon when I go to the mall. So I truly wish you all the best with this. I feel like everything is working out the way that it should be, and it's a great collaboration that you have going on. And once again, congratulations on the win. I'm trying to keep this short because it's Saturday after all. People have things to do. But what's one message you would like to share with a student that is starting out? They don't know where to start. These were just me adding stuff, but like
Yes.
from you, what would you share to maybe that one boy that's in the township or one girl that's in the township that is unable to see that, okay, you know what, this is possible for me, or you don't even know where to start.
Mm, mm. Yeah, you know, I, I sometimes don't like to to talk about things that are not practical, and I find a lot of people telling other people, and I was also told this to say, yeah, just start,
Mm.
and end, right? But just starting is not practical, right? Because
Mm.
sometimes you need resources. Some argue that you don't need funding, you need this, you need, but people have different views. But practically, really, from me and being authentic, being the authentic person that I am, it might these are some, maybe it might not be something that I've raised, but it's something that contributed also heavily in my journey. It's actually consuming entrepreneurial content, right?
Mm.
For me, I'll start with reading a book, buying a book, right? A entrepreneurial book, right? There's something about books that we tend to shy from, that we associate reading books with um, uh, um, uh, no, I sleep when I read a book. Or maybe I've been reading textbooks from school, so I'm okay for now with reading books. But with entrepreneurial books, you are actually reading a journey of someone who might have gone through what you are about to go through, but now they are actually sharing a shortcut. So you are actually, when you buy a book, you are paying for a shortcut, right? Without
Mm.
really you going through that, because trust me, it'll take you time for you to actually, for example, today's my this year it's my 8th year in particular in the specific well and well business,
Mm.
except other cleaning and all that. So this year it's our 8th year, right?
Mm.
Now, uh, there are certain things that we've done right by buying right books that gave us a shortcut, because we would have maybe started being purposeful in year 15 when we realized that, nah, man, we are actually moving in the wrong direction. But because we understood how some authors expressed this purpose thing, expressed this authentic approach thing, we actually applied it, and it's working to our favor. Just it's a
Mm.
shortcut, right? So for me, the biggest one is to buy books, even if it's one, just one. And then after reading that book, then you can maybe move on to another book. So in particular, maybe one would ask for me which book, depending on the journey, but I would strongly advise so for someone who has already started and maybe is running a business, but they're just struggling to actually make it work, I'd recommend a book by Michael E. Berger. It's called The E Myth, right?
Pardon?
So
It's called
E Myth, the E Myth,
E-Myth.
the E Myth, yes.
So EMYTH.
So it's the E as in alphabet, E for elephant.
The E-Myth.
E Myth Revisited, the E Myth
Okay.
Revisited,
Okay. Thank you.
by Michael E. Berger, E. Gerber, Michael E. Gerber.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a book that actually, yeah, you see this book, sure, yeah, yeah, this book, I know there are a lot of entrepreneurial books, but for me, yeah, this is a book that's my sort of like Bible, constitution, whatever scripture that you read, but that's my book. So it's a classic that explains why businesses fail. And it also, so just to give you a synopsis, a short brief, it's a
Mm.
book about um entrepreneurs that sometimes operate as technicians rather than strategic entrepreneurs, right?
Ooh, okay.
So
Mm.
if let's say you are doing nails, you are too focused on being a technician in that you want to be a specialist in doing nails, but you're forgetting other elements that you need to be an entrepreneur. It talks about being a manager. Talks about so it teaches like a system. It teaches you to understand system. To say that a system, it's you see this there's this talk about system and processes.
Yeah.
It's something that strongly emphasizes that, to say that
Mm.
a system and process, it's just a simple routine of what you do every day that you just need to document it
Mm.
in a way. So yeah, but yeah, for me, that's I don't want to bombard people like I have a room that's full of books, but for me that's just a book that one would need, and then they can take it further as to what other books they might need. But if you do not have this book, yeah, it might take longer for you to actually work on some things, but I strongly recommend the E-Myth Revisited.
Mm. Thank you so much for that. Especially as people like in business or people exploring entrepreneurship, like you said about books, they often have a negative connotation nowadays because everybody is like, nah, you could just find this on a podcast, Google it, you'll find it on YouTube, but sometimes you just really need to sit down and read the book. And there's really no shame in that. But I appreciate the insight that books are actually shortcuts. And it explains why, even in academia, we actually have books. Because imagine if we had to learn all of what these scientists did practically without the book. Where would we get the guidance? So I truly appreciate that, and yeah, I'll definitely read the book. So does anybody have a question? It's your time to ask questions now before Mr. Andile goes. Be free to open up your mic, or you can type in the chat or read the question for you. But preferably, please open up your mic. Um, yeah, does anybody have a question? Any question? Okay. Okay, I'm not too sure. Maybe nobody has a question at the moment. All right. So how can people find you? How can people reach out to you? Are you open to students reaching out to you? But one thing for sure, I really appreciated this, and I feel like the other topics that I would ask for us to have sessions on as well in sometime in the future as well.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm open to any engagement. I think when your journey has been humbled, you don't want to gatekeep the
Mm,
little that you've experienced or know, or the little that would maybe contribute to someone's journey.
mm,
So I think my journey has really humbled me in that it makes me feel good if someone um, uh, if my contribution makes a difference. So yeah, I'm not these big shot entrepreneurs that, yeah, when they enter the room, you like, yo, no. So yeah, so I'm humbled. I'm really humbled.
mm,
Yeah, so I'm available on LinkedIn, Andile Sasanti. We are at our website, wellandwell.co.za. Yeah, that's wellandwell.co.za. I'll just write it on the chat. And then our Instagram, it's wellandwell_za. That's
mm,
wellandwell_za. And then we are on Facebook, yeah, well and well underscore sa. Yeah, but mostly with us, right? Maybe we are not a loud brand. That's why you'd find that even our following is not that strong,
Mm,
because we have a very small yet intentional community. So
mm,
people that associate with us are people that like us, are people that are active, people that, yeah. So we more of we are quality more than quantity. So yeah, and we like it that way. I
yeah.
think when you are not all things to everyone, your purpose really stands out more. So yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I think that's also the beauty about understanding what it is that you're actually doing and knowing your purpose and stuff like that, because people do end up being lost in the source of, oh, now I'm famous, and they get to deviate from the human part as well of entrepreneurship as well. But just to ask a question of my end, so do you currently have a store whereby you are selling your products, or is it only through Woolies at the moment?
Yeah. So, with us, our approach is not to have a storefront.
Mm,
Ours, we are manufacturers, right? We
mm,
produce or manufacture. So we are in the space that's called agro processing. That's
mm,
where everyone's talking about. That's the space that's gonna create employment, da da da. But hence, I'm also saying that when innovative products come into play, it's a different conversation. But we are manufacturers, and then we currently supply the Woolly stores. We supply Jackson's Real Food Market,
mm,
Bryanston, Kailami, and their Bedford View store. We supply Soko District in Rosebank Mall. We supply a few spas in the Gauteng region. So we're currently only based in Gauteng.
okay, that's great. Okay, and then is your cleaning business still running? I'm not too sure. I heard you speak about that as well.
Yeah,
It was a
so
little interesting.
no, the cleaning business was discontinued.
Mm,
Yeah, I have sometimes some thoughts that I should actually open that business again, but
mm,
but at the same time I think yeah I think I've been doing this business for too long, and I've learned to not do this. I have five businesses under one company, so I want to be a specialist in what I do, versus being a businessman. So I want to be, yeah, I really want to be a specialist. So
mm,
yeah, so hence now we do well and well. So we've just recently opened a shop here in the township, a spaza shop. It's actually not even a spaza shop. It's almost like a supermarket of sort. So
mm,
yeah, the approach for that was to try and bring local products in one space, right? Source more locally produced products, at the same time source what people already know, but the approach is to promote local, and make local products fashionable, because mainly township manufactured products are associated with inferior quality, because even the business owners themselves don't trust their products. They're not confident enough, because they are
mm,
consumed by where they come from, to say that anything that's from the township is not good enough. We produced
mm,
yogurt in the township that's plant-based, but it was not selling in the township. It was selling in affluent areas, but it's produced in the township. So we actually
mm,
challenged the norm. So that's what we're also encouraging business owners to provide access to markets for their brands. And yeah,
mm.
and yeah, we'll just be exploring some other initiatives.
Okay. Okay, great. This was phenomenal. Thank you so much for your time. I've learned a lot. I've also so many other questions I could ask, but some
Yeah.
other time. And I will be tasting the yogurt. I will be buying it very, very soon. As soon as I get to the mall, I
Thank
will buy that. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your selflessness to share what you've learned and what you know.
Appreciated, and I'm humbled. And yeah, I hope the little that I know, yeah, it'll benefit the people. I just hope not asking questions yeah, I hope people are not feeling intimidated like I've mentioned before.
Mm,
But yeah, I'm humbled, and yeah, in future, if anyone wants to reach out, LinkedIn available, and I respond to messages.
okay. All right. Thank you so much. Have a great one and all the best as well.
Uh, Thank you so much, and have a lovely weekend, and everyone enjoy the day.
Bye.